Angel's Throne, Series 17, The Riders Awaken. They do not come to punish. They come to reveal. Chapter 1, The First Seal Cracks. It began not with war, but with a silence that reached heaven. Ashal'el stood in the spiral library when the golden pages turned themselves, without wind, without hands. One sentence, written in flame, burned across the wall. The first seal has been opened. And then she felt it, a shifting in the bones of reality, as if time itself winced. In the eastern sky, a rider descended, not with fire or fury, but with light so brilliant it silenced every voice. He rode a white horse, his robe shining like dawn, a crown upon his brow, and a bow without arrows in his grip. Those who saw him did not flee. They followed. They thought he was the return. The promised king. He only smiled. I come not to save, but to offer dominion. Chapter 2, Dominion Without Mercy. The White Rider marched across cities, offering no threat, only answers. He cured disease, not with prayer, but with power. He stopped wars, not with peace, but with command. He built temples, not for worship, but for obedience. And humanity bowed, not in love, but in exhaustion. Ashal'el watched from afar and whispered. This is not Christ. This is the echo of every king we built in fear. Lucifer, morning star, stood beside her. He is the one they wanted. I was the one they feared. Will you stop him? She asked. Lucifer shook his head. No. The first rider is not evil. He is the question, will you choose order over freedom? Chapter 3, The Sword Beneath the Rose. When the second seal cracked, it was not in the sky, it was in the hearts of men. From the north, under a blood-soaked moon, the Red Rider emerged. Not with thunder, but with a song. A single melody that caused neighbors to remember old betrayals. Lovers to recall bitterness. Nations to revive forgotten wounds. He did not raise his sword. He placed it between two leaders and whispered. Who will take it first? They both did. And the wars began, not for power, but for narrative. I was right. You were always the enemy. We must cleanse, to begin again. Ashal'el wept as the Red Rider passed by. He turned to her and bowed. I do not bring war. I bring memory. Chapter 4, The Balance of Breath. When the third seal cracked, the air grew still. Harvests spoiled in sunlit fields. Gold lost value. Water felt bitter. The Black Rider appeared, holding a pair of scales that glowed like starlight. He did not speak. Instead, he weighed. He entered boardrooms and altars alike. He stood in food lines and parliament halls. On one side of his scale, a soul. On the other, what the world said they were worth. The results shattered hearts. The sick were called burdens. The poor were labeled lazy. The faithful, dismissed as dreamers. The broken, forgotten. The Black Rider turned to Ashal'el. I do not starve the world. The world starved itself. And he left behind only ledgers, records of how little we paid each other in kindness. Chapter 5, Pale Mercy. When the final seal cracked, the earth did not shake. The stars did not fall. Only a soft breeze moved through the garden. And the pale horse stepped forth. Its rider was cloaked in linen white, eyes gray like dawn before storm. He had no weapon. He simply walked through homes, hospitals, prisons, palaces. To some, he offered sleep, and they took it gratefully. To others, he offered silence, and they begged to be heard instead. To the proud, he showed what came after applause. Lucifer knelt before him, not in fear, but in reverence. He is not death. Lucifer said. He is the one who asks, have you truly lived? Chapter 6, When the Riders Meet. They had not been summoned by wrath. They had not chosen one another. And yet, at the heart of the broken earth, the four horsemen met, without battle, without speech. The white rider stood tall, his crown gleaming. The red rider arrived with the scent of smoke and old anthems. The black rider held his scales, balanced even now. The pale rider stepped quietly, a ghost beneath starlight. Together, they faced Ashal'el. She stood unarmed. Unshaken. "You are not judgment," she said. "You are questions made form." The pale rider tilted his head. "Then answer this, if they still choose destruction, what remains worth saving?" She replied. "The fact that they still get to choose." The riders vanished, but their echoes remained, in every city, every heart, every altar. Chapter 7, Lucifer and the Forgotten Flame. Lucifer wandered alone into the first city where humanity had bowed to the white rider. He entered a cathedral made of mirrors. Inside, he saw a child, eyes wide with artificial joy, hands folded in pre-written prayer. "He told us we are perfect now," the child said. "No more doubt. No more change." Lucifer knelt. Perfection without pain is a prison. He opened his palm, and from it rose a forgotten flame, the very first one, the original spark gifted to creation before the throne was ever carved. It danced. And the child blinked. Cried. "I remember dreaming." Lucifer smiled. "Then you are not lost." Chapter 8, The Flame That Disobeys. Ashal'el returned to the spiral library to find that books had begun to rearrange themselves. One text hovered in mid-air, glowing red gold. "The Flame That Disobeys." It told the story of a fire placed within humanity, not to guide them, but to challenge the stars. In it, she read this. "One day, the flame will reject even heaven if heaven forgets to listen." She understood now, the horsemen were not punishment. They were warning beacons, light cast upon shadows we had grown comfortable in. And someone, or something, had hoped this would end us. Instead, it was waking us up. Chapter 9, The Fifth Rider. In the ruins between realms, Gabriel found a fifth hoofprint. No horse. No rider. But the wind whispered. The next comes not from prophecy, but from memory. Ashal'el met him there. They waited. And then, she saw her. A woman of ash and starlight, eyes covered, hands open, barefoot across the bones of forgotten prayers. She carried no weapon. Only a mirror. The fifth rider. "I am not war," she said. "I am what comes after regret." She placed the mirror before Gabriel. In it, he saw not his strength, but every soul he had failed to save. Chapter 10, The Unsealing. A great crack split through the spiral library's floor. From beneath rose an ancient vault. Unmarked. Sealed since before the fall. On it, no lock. Only a single phrase written in lightless ink. "This seal shall only break when all questions have been asked, and still no answer suffices." Lucifer approached it, eyes burning with memory. "We are near the end of prophecy," he said. "But not the end of story." Ashal'el placed her hand on the seal. And for the first time in all of history, the vault opened itself. Inside, not judgment. Only a blank page, and a voice that asked, "Now, who dares write what comes next?" Chapter 11, The Crownless Throne. In the center of the unsealed vault stood a throne. Not gold. Not fire. Made of memory. No one could sit on it. Not Lucifer. Not Ashal'el. Not even Gabriel. Because this throne responded not to power, but to understanding. Each horseman approached it and laid down a single item. The white rider, his crown. The red rider, a broken sword. The black rider, his scales, now cracked. The pale rider, a feather, white as silence. The fifth rider stepped forward last. She placed the mirror at the foot of the throne. It did not reflect anyone. Only possibility. Chapter 12, Ashal'el's Decision. Ashal'el looked at the mirror and saw the many futures. One where Lucifer was king. One where heaven fell again. One where the earth bloomed in silence. One where everything stopped. But then she saw one path untouched by flame, untouched by light. It was the path of choice left uncoerced. She turned to Lucifer. You were the morning star, but do you still wish to be the first flame? Lucifer shook his head. No. The first was given. But the last must be chosen. She stepped back from the throne. And the throne began to melt, its memory dripping like golden ink into the air. Because the age of thrones had ended. Chapter 13, The Rider's Departure. One by one, the riders vanished. But not into dust or wind. The white rider became the question of leadership. The red rider became the echo of every argument still unresolved. The black rider became the pause before we speak about justice. The pale rider became the soft hand at the end of suffering. The fifth became the reminder to forgive yourself. They had not ended anything. They had revealed everything. And so, they left the world, not changed, but facing itself for the first time. Chapter 14, The Quiet Between Eras. Lucifer walked beside Ashal'el through the ruins of the last great city. People had emerged from shelters, not broken, not fearful, but aware. Some chose silence. Some chose rebuilding. Some wept for what they had been. Lucifer looked to the horizon. They don't need flames anymore. Ashal'el nodded. Then we did our part. And she reached into the sky, pulling down the last vestige of the spiral library. It folded into her hand like silk. No more books. Let them write their own. And together, they vanished into the wind. Chapter 15, The Rider Within. Years later, a child stood atop a hill. They held no prophecy, no scroll, no crown. Only a lantern. Inside the lantern, a flame. It did not come from heaven. It did not descend from the stars. It was the flame passed through stories, memories, mercy, and questions. The child lit a single candle. Not to worship. Not to summon. But to remember. And in their whisper, one phrase survived. There were riders once, but now, the journey is ours. And with that, Series 17 ends. To be continued. If you enjoyed this series, please join me with the next series. Subscribe and enjoy the journey.